All right, so this is the first, so we haven't done this way before, so we're doing it this way for the first time, so I apologize if there are glitches and other things, okay? So you guys got a chance to kind of start to peruse this document. And hopefully what you're taking away from it is that there's a lot of stuff in there. And you've got to approach the design of this next little project of yours, this building, right? Basically meeting all of those requirements. So the question is how do you do that? How do you wrap your head around this whole thing, right? And try to get to the point where it's like, okay, I know enough now to where I can start designing. Okay? So, Mitchell, what do you think?
I say buy low, sell high.
Buy low, sell high. That sounds good. I think I could do that.
So one of the hardest things that we do as a discipline is somehow translate text into space and this text is inherently aspatial. There is no space really existing in this text. Aspatial means that it's different than non-spatial. Aspatial means it's not even anti-space, it's just space doesn't exist for it. So it's really up to the imagination of a designer, of an architect, to take their experience of the world, their imagination, and their sensibility about how to make space and apply it to a text that has numbers, it's got locations, it's got orientations, it's got all kinds of specificities in it, some of which may be important to you, some of which may be less important to you. It's up to you to set those priorities. And I think this is one of the reasons why Iggy was encouraging and, in fact, demanding that all of you do a close reading of this text. And I would sort of say repeated close readings of this text. And begin to internalize it, and then begin to reference what you begin to imagine about the space of the site, the space that is perhaps suggested by this aspatial text, and begin to put that into some kind of architectural.
I'm going to key on one of the words that Mitchell just used, internalize. I want you all to like picture, unless you're vegan, a nice juicy ribeye steak. And it got pulled out of a smoker and thrown on a broiler, and this thing is just awesome, right? Now, you start to imagine it. You start to imagine that first cut and that first bite. And the thing about it is that the reason that you like it is because you probably had a nice, juicy ribeye. If you're a vegan, let's just hypothetically say it's a piece of spaghetti squash, okay?
Yeah.
Don't be a smartass. Nobody likes a smartass. So past experience is basically linking like what you're about to encounter, right, to what's going to happen after you eat it. But the key thing that I want you guys to look at what Mitchell said is internalization. If you stared at that nice chunk of beef, you could not internalize it. You have to eat it, right? It's got to get inside of you. Now we're using a metaphor there of food, which we literally internalize. Can anybody point to their mind? Do you know where your mind is? Do you? Because that's a debate of philosophy. You can point to your brain. You know where your brain is, but are you sure that your mind lives in your brain? I don't know. Philosophers beg to differ. You can't point to your mind. You can point to your brain. And you can assume that your mind is in your brain. Some people in ancients thought that the mind was in the heart.
Or the liver.
Or the liver. Any number of different places. There are some cultures nowadays that, especially males, that think their mind lives somewhere else. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, you've got to internalize this. These are words. Yes, they're physical, on a piece of paper, but the reality is that the meaning of these words are ethereal. They have no shape or form. And you've got to get this formless thing into your brain. You've got to internalize it. How do you do that? Do you think you can internalize something as ethereal and wordy as this by reading it one time? No. You've got to read it over and over and over again. One of the things, Mitchell and I were just having this discussion, is when he and I talk, man, everything gets scribbled on. When Hero and I talk, I mean, I remember just, Hero would get so mad at me because I would start scribbling on anything. Because architects and designers think with their pencil as well as their mind, right? So one of the things that might be a good thing to do is to start to kind of see if you can generate like little sketches of like what this stuff means. No matter what you do, you've got to get the information that's in here into your nugget. Okay? So how many minutes are we at there, guys? Huh? 6:10? All right, I'm going to stop it and we'll start another one. I'm going to go ahead and name this one. Oh, I saw the mouse. There it is.